Well, Dr. Kyle, in Australia we have so many farmers waiting for rain, praying for rain. Can we make it rain, and if so, why don't we?
We can, with limited success. Rainmaking is no longer fringe science. And if you have the right sort of clouds in the right conditions, you can tickle them to just increase the rain a bit more. Overall, you can increase the rain and the snowfall, depending on where and when you are, by about 10 to 30% if you start with the right sort of clouds. It's not as though you can just simply say, there's a clear bit of sky, I want it to rain and I can do it now. Nuh-uh. You've got to have the right sort of clouds, right conditions, and you can get a bit of an improvement.
So we're talking cloud seeding.
Cloud seeding is one of the technologies, yeah.
What is that in layman's terms, if you can?
Well, you probably know a bartender or two, and every now and then the bartenders will take a bottle of beer out of the fridge, and it's a liquid, and they'll open it, and then in front of your eyes it'll go shh,
yep,
and turn into a sludgy sort of ice. So it's changed state from a liquid to a mushy solid. In the same way, we can change water molecules in the sky from a gas into a liquid. And we use chemicals such as sodium iodide, lead iodide, electricity, laser beams, all sorts of different tricks that we're trying to do. For example, during the Vietnam War, 1967 to 72, the Americans had a chemical called olive oil, and the project was therefore called Project Popeye.
It wasn't olive oil, I presume.
No, it was a whole bunch of different chemicals. And they reckoned, of the 54th Reconnaissance Unit, reckoned that they could increase, they reckoned they did increase the length of the monsoon by between 30 and 45 days, thus creating more mud on the ground and therefore slowing down the Viet Cong. And so back then the motto was make love, not war. Their motto was make mud, not war.
So this is weather as a weapon.
Weather as a weapon, and we're heading down that pathway, even though in 1977 the United Nations and a whole bunch of countries then signed to a Concord saying we are not going to use weather as a weapon. We have used weather as a weapon and we're still trying it.
And so you say we're still trying it. What sort of applications do you think we could use it in, and what do you think some of the actual weapons will be that we develop with the weather?
Well, we could send a storm on our enemy and divert a storm away from us. We could go to a lightning cloud and tickle it. They're trying to tickle them with lasers and other technologies to make them put lightning bolts on the enemy. For example, in the first Gulf War, there's been two of them, in the first Gulf War in 1991, the weather was so bad that the Allies, with all their amazing technology, flew less than 50% of the flights they planned. So weather can really muck things up. Other things you can do is to create fog or blast a hole through the fog. You can, long term, create a drought over the enemy. You can fool around with the ionosphere to improve your communications and make theirs worse.
Are we talking about similar sorts of things to cloud seeding, getting up there in the atmosphere and sort of playing havoc with the elements through chemicals, that kind of thing?
Chemicals and directed energy. People claim on the conspiracy theory side of things that HAARP, H-A-A-R-P, a research establishment in Alaska, not only is causing cyclones, typhoons, but has even been causing earthquakes and tsunamis, strictly crazy stuff. And the other big one that people think about is chemtrails, saying that those patterns that you see behind the planes, originally they said that they were chemicals to make us all compliant and we would do whatever the government made us do. Now they're saying it's there for weather modification, and they show photographs of barrels inside planes and ignore the fact that underneath it says test flight of the Boeing 747 with barrels of water simulating the weight of passengers.
I guess the key thing really is if you can create weather, you need to be able to take it away, because I presume you're going to get yourself in a real pickle if you can send a storm in, but then you end up raining out or freezing your own soldiers to death.
That's right, and you've also got the problem with escalation, that if you can do it to them, they can do it to you. But we have been using weather modification for making rain and snow, and for clearing air pollution. Beijing, 2008 Olympics, massive cloud seeding to wash the dirt out of the sky. And I flew into Beijing after the 60th anniversary of the formation of the People's Republic of China, and the air was surprisingly clean because they'd been cleaning the air like crazy with the weather modification. So yes, you can use it for good.
So how much of it do they actually have to do to clear the smog? Because just recently there have been major atmosphere alerts in Beijing to do with the pollution there. How hard do they have to cloud seed to actually get any tangible benefit?
Very hard. And you've got to have the right sort of clouds to start with, which they haven't been having recently. And there's nothing really in it for them. However, just on a separate issue, the air pollution in China is so bad with regard to the burning of coal. So what happened in the northern part of China? They said, okay, you're in the northern part of China, it's cold, we'll give you coal to burn to keep warm. Now, 20 years later, they look down the line, and what they have done with 500 million people, not 50 million, but 500 million, they've taken 5 years off their life in northern China due to the air pollution. And not only did they lose 5 years of productivity in terms of living a shorter period of time, they're also unhealthy, so there's probably another 5 years on top of that. What a cost to the economy indirectly the air pollution has caused. So if they can wash that out, but on the other hand, it's better not to make the pollution in the first place.
Indeed. Well, it certainly sounds like the weather has a lot of nasty elements, but let's hope we use it for peaceful purposes. Dr. Carl, thanks very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nick.